Brittany. So today's gonna be a movie review, and I'll be reviewing The Santa Claus. So it was directed by John Paskin, and it was released in theaters November 11th, 1994. And the music composed by Michael Confortino. I'm hoping I said that right. But yeah, this is also a good Christmas movie. But of course, it in a way it is like this. It is heartfelt, but at the same time, it's also this kind of sad story because of what's going on, because of when he's because Tim Allen, who is Scott Calvin, who later becomes Santa Claus, he one night when he's reading to his son of this Christmas story of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and then all of a sudden, they hear what sounds like footsteps on the roof. So by the time they go outside, and so from what he sees, he thinks he's seen someone trying to break into the house, but it was Santa Claus. So he falls off the roof, and he just disappears. Now that's, I would say, in a way, now even though it seems like how that Santa had died, yeah, there is nothing if you know what I mean, like, this was just a different, like, I don't know, I feel like the way this Santa died and how this, like, within any Disney movie, it's not shown in a way how it would have been shown if it was a different movie, and if it was maybe with a different rating. But it shows how he just simply no longer becomes Santa Claus. As he fades away, he disappears. And then of course he leaves a card saying that once he puts on the suit and everything else, that he will become the next Santa Claus. So that's what happens. So I think in a way that is a bit dark, even though I think they try to do it lightly, since it was a Disney movie, and in this case a Disney Christmas movie. So yeah. And now Tim Allen, though, he did a good job with this role, because to be honest, I never actually grew up watching this movie quite young. I didn't watch it until when I was like, I don't know, a teen, not until I was a teenager, then I was watching The Santa Claus for the first time, and I thought, like, okay, this is actually a good Christmas movie, and I thought, how come I never saw it before? So I never understood why I never saw it before, but could be because it was just a different time then. So maybe, I don't know what the reason was, but that just seemed a bit a little weird. Because I do remember this though, like, there are some Christmas movies I did grow up watching, but then there are most of them I just did not grow up watching at all, so I didn't end up watching those ones until I was a teenager, and The Santa Claus was actually one of them. Um, and then, of course, we see how he is a divorced father, and how he and his ex-wife have a shared custody with their son, where he gets visitation rights, where his son can, visit him every weekend or so. And so when he does, when we see how his son Charlie does get to spend time with him, at least over the weekend, that it's just around that time where it's like Christmas Eve. And that's when all of this happens. And so when all this is going on, and then he's delivering the presents, you know, like he still can't believe what's going on. But then I think what makes it harder for him to really believe what's going on is when they arrive at the North Pole. And so when he's talking to Bernard, the head of, and he's talking to him about this and how he just doesn't believe it. I can see how Bernard would just get very frustrated and maybe a little tight, since he's asking these questions, and since he's asking because he just can't really wrap his mind around it, of what's really going on, and that this can't be real. So I can see why. um, but he's trying to have patience to really talk to him, to really make him understand of what's going on. And so, so of course we can see how they're there. And so I think at some point, I think it seems like he's trying to believe in it, even though he doesn't quite yet. And so when the next day comes, and what's weird, because it's like, first they're sleeping at this really nice bed in the North Pole, and yet all of a sudden he and his son end up sleeping back in their beds at home. Like, how did that happen exactly? Like, how did they end up being back home in their beds asleep? Like, did they just just magically appeared while they were sleeping? I mean, I don't know, but I've always wondered that, like, okay, how did they just end up back in their beds, and this whole time they were sleeping, and they probably never noticed how that had happened? Like, did they went through some kind of portal or something? Like, I don't know, maybe that could have been it too. But then, as we can see, that when they both wake up, now Charlie, he still has the snow globe that Bernard gave him. And so we know for a fact, okay, that really happened, that was real. But his father, Scott, he doesn't believe that that actually happened, despite the fact that his son Charlie is literally carrying a magic snow globe that was from the North Pole. So somehow he still doesn't quite seem to believe it, and he's telling his son, no, it wasn't real, it didn't really happen, it was a dream. And of course we see how when he wakes up, he's not wearing what he like, we don't see him wearing the pajamas he would wear, but we see him wearing like these red silky pajamas, and it has his initials, SC, which of course those are the initials for Santa Claus too, so that's no coincidence. And so, of course, I think what makes this a bit sad to the story is that he's, he's really trying to tell his son that there's, that everything about it, like the North Pole, Santa Claus, and everything, that is not real, it doesn't exist, which in this case, within the story, it actually does. And yet he's trying to convince him that it's not. And what also makes it sad is that, because at some point, he starts to change physically. And so when he does, I don't think he's really realizing, like, I'm becoming Santa Claus. Because the moment he starts to physically change, even with his facial hair, where his hair is turning white and he's growing a beard, somehow I don't think when that's going on, I don't think for one moment he thought, okay, that might have been real. Maybe I am really becoming the next Santa Claus. I don't think he really thought that. I think he's just thinking, what's happening to me? Why am I, changing? Why is my body changing? Why is my hair growing? Like, why is my hair turning white? Why am I growing a beard? But like I said, at first he's thinking maybe there's something going on, and yet somehow he's going through these physical changes. And but yet not for one moment he comes to realize that that night when they did visit the North Pole and when he put on the Santa suit, that he was going to become the next Santa Claus. So I don't think that I don't think that really came into his thought where he came to really realize that. But I think he probably started to realize that not until somewhere later, that I think then he starts to really realize that, and maybe along the way accepts it. And of course we can see how he doesn't like his ex-wife's new husband, because like he finds him irritating, and just like oh yeah, he's just so smart, like he thinks he knows everything, so he just doesn't like him at all. But this movie does have its good moments and has its heartfelt moments, but it does have those sad moments as well. But it's still a good movie, nonetheless. And now this is a movie I also like to watch around this time of year. I think with this one I like to watch at least around before or sometime after Thanksgiving. So yeah, and the cast did such a great job, and yeah, and to see Tim Allen portraying as Santa Claus is just quite new and different, because now the movies that I grew up watching is where he was the voice of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, but then later when I was a teen, and to have seen the Santa Claus and to see him play this new character of a Disney movie that's a Christmas movie, and to see him as Santa Claus, that was just quite new to me. And I'm like, he actually does play a good Santa Claus. And so yeah, so he did a good job with that, and everyone both on and off screen who did this movie did a really good job, with the story and everything, the music, the performances. And so this is also one of those good Christmas movies to watch around this time. And so yeah, he has me convinced Like, I think he has me convinced that if Santa Claus were real, that he would probably be the real Santa Claus. You know, because even when you watch those movies, he does have you convinced that he is like the real Santa Claus. You know, but then again, there are some other good actors who have played Santa Claus in Christmas movies where somehow they will that somehow they can convince you to that if they were Santa Claus that they would probably be him, you know, or one of them. So that's just how I see it. And so with my rating on this review, I would now I would say this too, even though it is a good movie, I feel like I wish there could have been a little bit more parts in it where it's a little bit more maybe happy moments. And I think some things that could be a little bit more uplifting to the story. Um, but I would give it a B. I would um, give it 7.6 out of 10, and I would give it um, 3 stars and 70%. So that's my rating. And if you are a fan of the Santa Claus movies, or at least the first one, leave a comment down below and comment down below if you have any favorite Christmas movies that you love to watch around this time. And also, and I keep forgetting to say this in my videos, but to see more like this, to see more movie reviews and more movie content, then please subscribe and like the video. And yeah, if you just love these Christmas movies, and you know, just comment down below what your favorite Christmas movie is. So that's all for today, and I'll see you at the movies. Oh, and Merry Christmas.